forgiveness is in itself a very difficult and complex process. And I'm not conflating forgiveness and reconciliation. Ultimately, the task of forgiveness should be leading to reconciliation. That cannot be forced. But forgiveness is itself a way of saying we are bound together. People not reconciled.
In thinking about, especially modern notions of forgiveness and reconciliation in the context of a relationship, I mean, more often than not, we hear the words "I'm sorry" versus "forgive me." And do we think that an apology, should we treat an apology the same way that we would treat or does an apology fall under that kind of what you said in the first class about flattery?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what most of us engage in, a highly technical term, but I call it blow-off forgiveness. You know, I forgive you, now go away.
Well, and even beyond that, thinking about the ways in which we make ourselves impenetrable to harm. Because maybe part of the reason that we engage in blow-off forgiveness is because we're not really engaged in relationship, like that we do our best and we live in such a way to protect ourselves from, we're always guarded. And if we're always guarded, then the kind of forgiveness that takes place isn't going to be as deeply engaged. Does that make sense?
It does. Let me give you a scenario that Bernard and I were talking about earlier in the week.
Okay.
Really catch those with it. Imagine a scenario. Let me imagine a scenario. A man murders my wife. I think I'm under an obligation as a Christian to forgive him. That does not mean the state has to forgive him, that the crime has been committed against the community as well as against me. And so none of that, so in my forgiveness, none of that means that I don't think he should pay for his crime. Now, all of that can be rather superficial, but I think I fulfill the requirement of the demand. The next step is, however, I think Christians envision that forgiveness also leads to reconciliation, which is a much more difficult task. Because the next part of the scenario is, what if the murderer becomes a Christian while in prison and says, will you come to prison and share Eucharist? I mean, in order to take it literally, I have to be reconciled with him. Otherwise, I've made a travesty of the Eucharist. Can I really do that? And I mean, and that's why I'm always leery also of people trying to force reconciliation too quickly.
Oh, no.
Because then it becomes coercive in and of itself. Like if I'm not ready to go have Eucharist with the murderer of my wife, my priest says you have to. I think that's an act of coercion on the part of the priest.
Right.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I did. Wondering about because in the realm of forgiveness, and I've done a lot of study biblically. First of all, in studying it, forgiveness is a release. You're releasing the person and to be able to live in community with that person that's a work of Holy Spirit. We can't do that stuff.
Right.
And when I look at how God forgives us, and the word explicitly said, and Jesus explicitly said, if you don't forgive, you will not be forgiven. So it behooves us to be able
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it, is the resistance that we show to the Holy Spirit which creates the problem. I agree with that. And this is why I mentioned earlier in the class why I think it's very difficult to be a Christian. Because in many respects, forgiveness is contrary to our nature.
We have to die.
Yeah, we have to die to self in order that Christ might live. And the reason I say that is because it seems to me in other cultures, my duty would be very easy. I would seek vengeance.
That's not, Jesus saying that doesn't mean we're supposed to do that.
No, I'm not saying I said shouldn't apply.
But I'm not saying you said that, but oftentimes people think we need forgiveness and even reconciliation that it's just that it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be passive and just let them walk over. There's a certain amount, there's power that we have, that power is not unto us.
Right, and all I'm saying is that I think that where the difficulty comes in is that final step, the reconciliation. That's really the hard one. And yet, I think the entire Eucharist is predicated upon the centrality of forgiveness and reconciliation.
Yeah, in your scenario, I was thinking, well, probably it could be unwise of the person if they really became, a Christian, for them to even invite you into that. It could be just unwise. I mean, because that, anyways.
Well,
secondly,
it's so rarely we meet unwise Christians.
Yeah, first time. But then secondly, I thought, there's nothing wrong with saying you're not ready. They say, is that still not forgiveness if you're saying I'm not ready to go share with the Eucharist with you?
Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't be ready.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't say it as terribly as you just.
What's that?
I probably wouldn't reply as terribly as you just.
Okay.
All right.
Nor would I.
But I also recognize at the same time in saying I'm not ready. That in of itself saying is there's still more that needs to be done. More that needs to occur.
Sure.
And that, however you want to put it, the failure is on my part to be unable to accept and give.
Is it failure?
Well,
is it I don't know.
Well, as late moderns, we're very uncomfortable with the word failure. I mean, but in some sense, is it not a failure on my part?
Be a good failure.
It would be a good failure, but nonetheless, a limitation. And I think you really have to recognize, so that's what I'm saying, that forgiveness is important. It's central, I think the central act, particularly this Catholic Eucharist. But don't be too delightful about what that means, because I think we're in danger sometimes turning forgiveness into an entitlement. That if I ask for it, you have to give it to me. Pardon? Pardon?
I'll say, but we do as Christians.
Well, no, I mean, no, there's a difference. If you're simply entitled and you ask for forgiveness, then I have a duty to do it in terms of honoring your right. As a Christian, I don't believe you have a right to be forgiven. Christ simply commands me to forgive you. I don't give any right to be forgiven. But I'm commanded to do it nonetheless.
What if you don't care? What if you say, forgive you, I don't even care?
Well, because again, don't we have a very irritating commandment about who we should love?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going on probably on a different direction. Sometimes people get things so caught up in their mind about what's going on. Like there was a pastor I know who people kept telling him, you need to be restored with this person over something. He's like, I don't even have a problem with this person. What are you talking about? I'm not going to go restore it. Nothing's happened. Anyways, I'm thinking this is an inevitable topic.
Well, I mean, look, I think that happens a lot of times. People say, there's nothing more irritating than someone who says, I forgive you, and you can't even think in your mind what I possibly have done. Okay, yeah, there's that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about the scenario where isn't indifference one of the cruelest responses you can make to people?
Yes.
Can't, yes.
I mean, I'd rather be loved or I'd rather be hated, but don't pretend I'm invisible.
Yeah. Well, indifference. I mean, I think that's part of the challenge when we get in conversations around what makes for a healthy relationship is that I've had a number of conversations with friends and I'm like, I want people to actually have an opinion about me. That if someone's just indifferent or apathetic or I'm not even within the scope of their kind of, if I'm not even on their radar, and this is someone that I've actually attempted to be intentional with and tried to develop a relationship with, that's one of the biggest blow-offs, is that lack of reciprocity.
Right. Well, and that's not saying you have to have a kind of full intimacy with everybody you run into.
Right.
But it does mean, basically, when you can really just say in your own mind about a certain kind of situation, individual, I really don't care one way or the other.
Yeah.
That is basically to strip that person of any existence. And I think late moderns have gotten particularly proficient of what I would call casual indifference. And doesn't the techniculture enable us to do it somewhat more proficiently? Much easier now to ignore strangers. If you're on your phone. Well, it's true. I mean, you walk down the street with the headphones on. But in other words, also, we talked about the notion of communication earlier, and that's what the Eucharist also teaches us about. Remember the notion of communication? The root of the word koinonia is to communicate. Community and community are all rooted in that same word, koinonia. And a communication is not an exchange. An exchange is what yours becomes mine, what mine becomes yours. To communicate something means what is yours and mine becomes ours. So Eucharist is not an exchange, it's communication. This is why it's called communion. The table reminds us that our faith is not yours, it's not mine, it's ours. Christ is ours. We are Christ. Therefore, it's in the Eucharist too that we have hope as the antidote to despair. Now, hope is not simply wishful thinking. It's certainly not optimism. But hope is a notion that it is the future that beckons us. That the future is already there in Christ. It is to see it is to always be open to the possibility. The Holy Spirit to be something doing it. Okay, now finally, the last little thing in practice I think helps us to engage in techniculture is Sabbath. Yeah.
So can we have all those things without the Eucharist?
Pardon?
Can we have all those things without the Eucharist? Do we have to really use the symbolic things in relationship with
Well, that could be your essay. Making a case for it without the Eucharist. I suppose you could. I don't know, because I've never thought about it in the absence of the Eucharist. Well, I guess what I'm saying too is that, look, there's something important to remember about ritual. Let's say. And sometimes we do rituals even when there's no feeling to it. Just, we do it. much the same way as, I don't know if it's been your experience or other people. There's a lot of times when I didn't have a lot of feeling being a parent, but I did the things a parent needs to do. And there's just some days, you know, your heart's not in it, but you do what it takes. And I think there's something important just in the repetition of it. There are a lot of mornings I don't want to pray, but I do it. And it's the sheer repetition of it, I think it forms me in certain kinds of ways, which I hope it will. And I think the same thing is with the Eucharist. So I suppose the things I've been talking about could be achieved in the absence of it. I just haven't thought about it. Now, Sabbath, as we talked about, I'm not necessarily saying it has to be a particular day. But there is a time in Sabbath where we no longer are in what I would call the working creative mode, but in the receptive mode. We receive the good of creation. So it is in Sabbath when it is actually more blessed to receive than to give. And it is in Sabbath that we affirm our being. Our being is Christ. We belong to Christ. That is our being. And so this is why I've tried to tie Sabbath in the notion of what would be true leisure. So Sabbath is not simply to be at rest. It's certainly not recreation. It is simply being receptive. And there may be certain kinds of things, practice we need to do to help us keep Sabbath. So, an hour of forgetting. One of my favorite columns, no longer in the Wall Street Journal, was Ask the Rabbi. And one of the questions was asked, can I run my email server on the weekend, on Sabbath? And the answer was, well, you can receive emails, but you can't answer them. So, but again, it's important to think through, how do we keep Sabbath now? Particularly in a 24/7, 365. What does it mean to keep Sabbath? And my hunch is it doesn't mean finding an alternative pursuit so that it too becomes a form of work. I mean, in many respects, our so-called recreation becomes another form of work. It's just a different form. And so it is in Sabbath as a time and a place where our desires are assessed and reformed. In receiving what we should know and understand, we learn what we should desire and how this desire should be properly ordered. Sabbath is also a time and place in which the patterns of the moral life are realigned in accordance with the promises made in the ending of one's life, or to turn back to the dead reckoning. It is in Sabbath where we make course correct. And it is in Sabbath that we begin to know the importance of love. That love is inherently relational. That it seeks to find rather than to isolate and separate. If Christians practice Sabbath, then they must also engage the nomadic neighbors in a charitable manner. So it is in Sabbath where we begin to know a little bit about how to say no and how to say yes. If we actually have time to receive that. Now, to sum up, why is all this important? Because our formation is at stake. And we become how we are formed. We are basically a bundle of habits. We have good habits and we have bad habits. But you and I are habitual creatures and how those habits go. And this is why you'll be engaging the story that remains of the day. Much to your surprise, you will encounter Mr. Stevens. What remains of the day is the story of formation. For Mr. Stevens is an excellent butler. For him, dignity is what makes a butler great. The great butler never forsakes his professional role. The great butler is the butler 24 hours a day. Now, the great butler must also serve a great gentleman associated with distinguished households. One knows when one is in the presence of greatness. For Mr. Stevens, Lord Darwin is such a man. And it was the butler's purpose to enable the fellowship at the table, which influential people are unwittingly supporting an evil cause. For Lord Darwin brings to his table Nazis and Nazi symbols. So the great butler serving a good man. Lord Darlington is not a wicked man, but he is naive. Through his naivety and ignorance, promoting an evil purpose. And Mr. Stevens is actually facilitating this without every question. The butler therefore implicated. And what can we say of his judgment? What should we say about his formation and vision that is unable to look beyond the narrow tasks of running the household? And as we will discover, Mr. Stevens has other character flaws. For example, he often denies that he worked for Lord Darlington after he fell from grace, so to speak. He failed to oppose the anti-Semitism that Lord Darlington displayed. He allows people to think and assume things about which he is not. He even tries to please his new master by learning how to bandage this matter. And what can we say of his relationship with Miss Kennedy as well? Mr. Stevens' own words, it comes toward the end of the book. It is hardly my fault if his lordship's life and work have turned out today to look at best a sad waste, and it is quite illogical that I should feel any regret or shame on my own account. It would be denial of what he did. And yet, as he also admits, Lord Darlington was a good and courageous man for the path he chose to misguide him. But at least Lord Darlington chose to make his own mistakes, something that Stevens cannot even claim. So he says, I can't even say I made my own mistakes, but they would be a real life. So there is the unavoidable question in the story, the content of local things and practices that form and malform. What do we allow? And that's an important question. Because as Stevens demonstrates, an excellent butler is not necessarily an excellent human being. And you will have to ask in your own lives, an excellent minister is not necessarily an excellent human being. You can master the technique, but that's not the character. So think of the remains of the day as a story of formation, and how as Christians are. Right, questions, comments? Before we start talking about the essay next week. So you're all ready to engage in technical, right? You know all the ins and outs. Okay. All right, your first essay. Pardon? Yep, got 2 weeks. 2 weeks on the first essay. Now, the first thing to do is not think about this as the great and terrible day we always okay. An essay is simply a bad conversation. I want to know what you're thinking. That's basically it. I'm not looking for a correct answer. I'm looking at how you think about the answer, how you arrive at the answer. I actually want you to have fun with this. Choose a question you really want to answer. Now, you don't have unlimited choices, but I've given you 5. And all of these questions are unanswerable in terms of 1,500 words. I want you to find your niche, and I'm trying to give you as much wiggle room as possible. Explore that question around, find where you land, find the gravity, and go with it. You can rewrite this. This is not the last word. You're not going to live or die by your first draft. As I said before, you have a limited rewrite. There's a final day when the door of the ark is irreparably closed. That's far off. So the essay is really a way for you to reflect on, okay, where am I at this point? What do I need to think about? What do I want to think about? How should I think about it? Look upon it that way. So let's go through and say, okay, on these questions, what would be a good way to approach these essays? First question is pretty straightforward. Should Christians desire happiness? Why? And your first sentence would be something, either yes, Christians should seek happiness and everything else is explaining why, or no, Christians should not seek happiness and everything else is explaining why. This is obviously a golden opportunity to pick a fight with fishing skill. Centers upon that first essay that I put to the slide. Okay, the second one, possibility is in an accidental man, Ludwig must make some crucial decisions regarding his future course of life. He seeks your counsel. What would you advise him to do? Why? And how might the various readings you have engaged so far help you to formulate your counsel? Again, this is an opportunity for you to display your pastoral counseling skills. What would you say to Ludwig when he came to you?
Oh, Ludwig.
Pardon? What was that?
I was just like, oh, Ludwig.
Well, you have to say a bit more than that. Third possibility.
And the sources do you need?
Pardon?
And the sources do you want?
Oh, sources. Look. This convinced me from reading and thinking about the material. I'm not really paid on I don't want a summary of every book. If I wanted a summary of every book, I'd say, write me a summary of every book. Right. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how are you putting this together? Are you, where do you see the connection? How are you thinking about this? How are these books help us what you're talking? The other thing too, I'll deny this if you, no, I won't deny it. You catch me on video. I don't care about footnoting as long as you're consistent. Okay, just as long as I can find what you're citing, that's all I'm interested in. So I'm not a big sticker on formatting on that. Also, for your own well-being, don't use your footnotes to make side comments. Okay? If it's important enough to put it in the footnotes, it's probably important enough to put it in the body of the essay. So just use the essay as a site material. Okay. Stanley Hauerwas has many virtues. Footnoting is not one of them. Okay. Don't follow Stanley Hauerwas school of footnoting. It's the world of and there again, in answering these questions, just dive in. You don't have to have a clever beginning. This is you don't have to catch my attention. Okay. Just begin with the answer and everything else is delivery on why you're answering. Okay. The third possibility is critically discuss Boardman's concept of focal things and practices, particularly in respect to other authors read in this section. Note and describe particular strengths and weaknesses of Boardman's proposal. Again, that's just basically saying, convince me you understand what the concept is, what you think a particular strength is, what you think a particular weakness is, and why. And if you can refer to other books in doing that, that's fine. The other thing I'll also say is there's no penalty or tax if you use books that weren't assigned in this class. Okay. Nothing wrong using books from your other classes to answer questions. That's actually a good thing. Because it shows that we actually gave some forethought to the curriculum, and there might actually be some accidental connection. Now, the fourth possibility is simply Grant's quote. You can read there, and the comment on it. And